Because of the proximity of this video's release to the movie, it may be messy with information and may need to be revisited in the future. I'll be using Wikipedia and articles for sources, and I will try and link as much of it below as possible. So, let's get into it. So the battle started off with a group of rebels that stole a Zeta-class cargo shuttle and against a rebel command, attempted to steal plans for a super-secret weapon. Meanwhile, the rebel fleet, which is en route to Tatooine to pick up a Jedi Master, Admiral Ridis decided to help the rebels on Scarif because that's more important. He's like that guy on a road trip who decides to stop somewhere and he says it'll take a minute, but it takes like 4 hours and just ruins the thing. Admiral Ridis is that guy. He was more willing to sacrifice his lives because of his personal experiences, even his own. I'll make a video about it. I'll talk more about him in a future video. So, without any ado, let's get into the pilots. Alright, so Red Squadron is kind of the most messiest of the squadrons here. Not because there's no information, it's because that there may be contradicting sources of information. I'm going to be covering all of them. Garvin Dre's Red Leader. He was a skilled X-Wing pilot that led Squadron. And according to a deleted scene, he met Anakin Skywalker when he was young. For Rogue One, they reused dialogue that was cut from the final film in A New Hope. It was a cool cameo, and I'm glad they put it in. Too bad he died days later. John D. Barron, Red 4. He was a rebel pilot that flew and died at the Battle of Yavin. The reason why I bring him up is because I found him in a trailer for Rogue One. So, he was at Yavin before Scarif, he just may not have flown at the battle. It's a cool Easter egg and shows a massive attention to detail. Cadet Piran Gall, Red 5, killed in action. The rebel pilot was a cadet who flew in an X-Wing, which allowed Luke to take his place a few days later. Ugh, poor schlup. A character that was made to die. So many nowadays. Jerk Tano Porkins, Red 6. The man, the myth, the legend, the master of memes in the Star Wars universe. Although you can't see him in the movie, you can see his starfighter. It's a cool Easter egg. I'll talk more about him later. Harbin. Hailing from the planet Idaru, the rookie excelled at starfighter runs against point defense cannons. It was a close friend of Baron Gala. I'm assuming he mourned his death if he probably wasn't destroyed. Zal Deniz, Red 8. Zal, along with Porkins, was a member of the Terfon Yellow Flying Aces Squadron. After their base was destroyed, they transferred into Red Squadron. She at least took down 20 enemy fighters before the battle. Zizo 9, Red 9. Zerzo was the mysterious Red 9 in A New Hope and has one of the hardest names to pronounce in Star Wars. In the Legends, he had a history and was recanonized in Rogue One, the Ultimate Visual Guide, so at least he was in more than one movies. Ralos Real. He was a stunt pilot that flew recklessly for the amusement of Outer Rim audiences. Because of his reckless nature, he was easily picked up by the rebellion, and especially Admiral Radis. He probably died at that battle, or maybe he made it in. Unknown, Red 12. We don't know who this guy is in canon, but in Legends his call sign was used by Puck Nico. But in canon, he was most likely going to be in Green Squadron, but he got injured and his spot was taken. So when he finally got better, he couldn't get into his spot, so he decided to transfer into Red Squadron. But that's my theory. Now, the only member of Red Squadron we don't see is Theon Nett, and so he's the only one. I don't think he participated in the battle, but maybe there's a chance. So they could reveal any one of these pilots in the future, but it's probably going to change. So we'll most likely have to wait and see, and I may have to come back to this place later. Alright, so let's move on to Green Squadron. Unknown Green Leader. We don't have a name for this guy yet, but I think he may be Ivan Krenai from Return of the Jedi, the guy who flew his X-Wing into the Super Star Destroyer. The next few have not a lot known about them besides their names, so I'll group them together. My theory is that they were all defectors from an Imperial Academy, and that's not a fun story to tell over and over and over again. Togagomar, green 2, Risk Close, green 3, Cav Kronos, green 6, Namatakerman, green 7. So we might see a story about them someday, but I don't think it's likely. Octowed, green 4. Like many others before defecting from an Imperial Academy, after he refused to fire on an unarmed civilian craft, he had a rivalry with Red 9. Bo Van Darus, green 10. At first, he was a member of Gold Squadron on Tatooine. While Deriva's was transferred to fly an X-Wing at the request of his mentor Derivan's Cash, who saw the danger of his flight position. William Dams, green 12. He took Nico's role in Green Squadron. He also had a similar helmet design to Biggs Darklighter. That's all we know about Green Squadron, so let's just move on to Blue Squadron. General Anton Merrick, Blue Leader. He was about 40 years old at the time. He led a defense squadron on his home world. He went on to become a general in the rebellion. The way he flew an X-Wing, even as a general, reflected the Jedi's way of leading, by example. He cared deeply for those under command and refused to recklessly risk their life. He often clashed with Admiral Redis, and he was one of the few that made it into Scarif, but never made it out. Taurus Code, Blue 2. All we know about him that's all we know about him. And he's just a background character, I guess. This is an impossible name to pronounce, so Jindy Grahams, Blue 3. The tech specialist from Fursha. She was a flight programmer who jumped at the chance to fly a real T-65B X-Wing. She was soon dispatched to Scarif and was at one of the major battles, but Baron Raynor, Blue 4. He was a well-known member of Blue Squadron. He flew in the battle and pulled up just before the shield generator went back up. It's unknown if he flew back to Yavin 4 in time. Forrest Moonby, Blue 5. Sometime before the Battle of Scarif, Ryan's movie sold as the sole starfighter pilot at an ill-supplied rebel base on Cassido 4. Through this, he gained more solo flying hours than the rest of his wingmates. He was known to work well within a squadron and obviously jumped at the chance to join Blue Squadron. Vandos Greek, Blue 7, a Typhon Yellow Ace who transferred into Blue Squadron. During the battle, he tried to follow Blue Leader into Scarif to help give support to some U-Wings. The shield generator went back up and he crashed on impact. Rich Dundon. He was a close friend of Vandos Greek, and they grew close at the launch base on Yavin. And they were both at the base on the unknown planet. He most likely mourned his death. Huff Tober, Blue 8, a lieutenant in the Rebel Alliance. Fun fact, he was played by the first assistant director of the film, Toby Hufferman. He's even named after him. Toby Hufferman has done a lot of cool movies, so you should look that up as a first assistant director, even though it's Carlos Graham, Blue 9. A former search and rescue pilot for the Wilderness Preserve on his homeworld, Astera, he developed a passion for flying skills by waving and landing his airspeeder through the planet's dense brush. He got the attention of the Rebel Alliance and was happy for joining because he had such a caring for red life. Eventually flying at the Battle of Scarif, his care for life was put at the ultimate test. Loma Joman and Tasha LeCoe, Blue 11. These two were co-pilots in a U-Wing starfighter. Lennon was even-keeled and tolerated her gunner Bastion only because of his skill. She probably would have kicked him out if she wasn't such a good shot. Not much is known about her co-pilot. They were both killed on the Battle of Scarif along with Bastion. Paularita, Blue 12. He came from the planet and if same planet the girl Scum did. They both transferred to the Profundity Starfighter forces. On their way to pick up Obi-Wan, the convoy took a detour to Scarif to meet up with the rest of the fleet. Now we're on to the last squadron of fighters. Gold Squadron was a group made up entirely of Y-Wing bombers. Their bombers were stolen from Reclam Station by Phoenix Squadron. After the Battle of Scarif, they were the squadron to come out with the least casualties. Oh, the irony. So let's get into who led them. John Dutch Vander, Gold Leader. Born from Onderon, he was part of the Imperial Navy before defecting to the Rebel Alliance. In the movie, they reused stock footage from A New Hope. One thing of note, they got their Angus McInnes to reprise his role in the film. And there's an awesome interview by Jamie Sturgeon. It's linked below, on screen, or in the description. Valerie, Gold 3. She's a fairly big character in the comics. An Alderaanian youth and best friend of Princess Leia, she was part of the Battle of Scarif as one of the Y-Wings. She survived and became the only member of Gold Squadron to live through both this and the Battle of Yavin. So yeah, Kalen Farlander is gone to good. Imagine the Salt Bay meme, but instead of the gold, instead of salt, it's Kalen Farlander's ashes. Brace Mirko, Gold 6. Like a lot of the pilots here, we don't know a lot about him, but he did go on to fight at the Battle of Yavin. I may come out of here. A lot of the members of Gold Squadron are faceless people. Gens Do Will Cobb, Gold 7. He was at the Battle of Scarif and is just another faceless pilot in the fleet. Dean Chiro, Gold 8. He flew another pilot to take down the shield gate and was part of the bombing. Wanabe Gold 9. He was also part of the bombing on the shield gate. He jumped to hyperspace just before Darth Vader's flagship, the Devastator, flew in. He died at the Battle of Yavin just a few days later. His call sign was later taken by Nora Wexley at the Battle of Endor 4 years later. I also want to mention that Dux Tree and Dare's Pops Kel could have flown, but we only see a handful of Y-Wings at the battle, so who knows. At some point, I'm going to come back to all of these and add more about them. I hope you liked this. It was took a really long time to make this video, so I hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, and subscribe, and peace out.